Hi, welcome to Knits Up. I'm Mindy, your hostess, otherwise known as Knitter CNY. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as Knitter CNY, and you can find the podcast group Knits Up Podcast on Ravelry, and there's also a Facebook page. So those are all the places you can find me. The CNY in my name goes to Central New York. I am in the Syracuse area, that's smack in the middle of New York State. It's where Route 81 and the Thruway, Route 90 meet, basically. And I'm up along Oneida Lake, which is a beautiful lake, part of which is frozen right at the moment. It's been a while. I think it's been over a month and a half since I podcast, so I wanted to record an episode today because I actually have some things done. I'm also working on a couple of things, which I don't think I even brought with me because I just finished one of them. So we'll say it's mostly finished objects and plans for new things. That's all the yarn in the background. We'll talk about that in a minute. First of all, I wanted to talk about something that I forayed into. I guess you could call it designing, but it's not really designing when you copy something. At the inauguration, Bernie Sanders was well known for wearing his mittens. And they were made by a lady in Vermont from Reclaimed Sweaters, from what I understand. She doesn't make them anymore. So, me being the person I am, I thought those are really pretty. I like the back of those. And I blew up the close-up that had been taken of it and basically copied the pattern. So, A, these mittens are not for sale. B, I'm gifting them to people. And C, I am not selling a pattern, putting up a free pattern. It's a pretty basic design that I followed. So, what I used for this was, pardon me as I reach, and you get to see the CPAP machine in the background. Oh, the excitement for you. For the first pair, I used Basic Stitch from Lion Brand. This color happens to be taupe heather, and I think I used gold heather, black, and like a cream ecru color. Ecru, I think, is the name of it. And what I did was the first weekend I actually ran and made 3 different mittens out of 2 different types of yarn, without thumbs. Those are pictures I posted at Oneida Shores, which is the local beach in town. I took the bottom half of that mitten that was the cuff part, and I did solid up to here. I started my thumb here, and then I took that bottom half and sort of used that design here to make something that was not exactly the same, but it was pretty darn close. This taupe is showing a little more gray than it normally does. It's more of a brownish color rather than a grayish color. There's not much I can do about the lighting here. So we'll go with, it looks pretty good. And then I did a gold heather color. This one doesn't have a thumb on it, but you can see it kind of how I did the thumb here. And that one I kind of, used. I like this one probably the best, but somebody will claim these in the family or a family friend. So this first pair of mittens is going to a cousin of mine who said, "Those are really cool. Can I buy them from you?" And I said, "Of course not. They're your family and I can't sell them." So then I had another cousin who contacted me because the third mitten that I made was out of this yarn, which is Fisherman's Wool. This is also a Lion Brand yarn. This is 100% wool. It is a non-superwash, so meaning it hasn't been treated. This will felt if you wash it. on washer and dryer. It's hand wash, lay flat to dry. This particular one says it's made in China, but I have a whole bunch of this stuff in a bunch of different colors. I think I ended up buying one color in the cream or the natural colorway. So I made that first weekend, I made all basically right hand mittens, but I made this mitten. You can kind of see the colors here. And this actually shows the difference between the dark brown, and I think they call it nature's brown, and then this is brown heather. This is oatmeal, and I think this is ecru or natural cream. Those are 4 colors that it comes in. There's some variegate twist colors that it comes in as well, but that kind of gives you an idea. Farther away, you can tell that this is definitely different than that color. The stripe is definitely different than that. So I had started the ribbing for the second mitten last weekend, and I made the second mitten, finished the second mitten this afternoon. So they are done. A friend of another cousin said, "How much are those mittens?" And I said, "I can't charge you for them, but you're a family friend, so no problem. I'll be mailing them to you." So I am going to get her address and mail these off and mail the other ones to my cousin this week. So that was my foray into, I don't think you'd call it designing, but copying and charting stuff out. I became sort of obsessed with this and really wanted to get this done. So that's what I did. At lunchtime at work, I usually eat, the lab is set up so that I usually eat lunch by myself. I eat so early, but they're in that box of yarn with the other that I had made that sweater at Christmas time out of. And obviously I haven't woven in my ends. There was some Da Vinci, which is a wool acrylic blend, and I just whipped up a hat. It looks kind of cute. I'll probably give it to charity. And then the other hat that I am working on, oh my, tangly yarn, very tangly yarn, is out of another Lion Brand yarn, which is called Lion Brand Hometown. Now they've changed the colors in this. So if you can find this color, you're lucky. I happened to find it at Joann's and picked up 4 balls of it using the pickup curbside delivery feature. And this color, as you can tell, is orange. I live near Syracuse, so this color is actually called, well, you can't see the label, but it's actually called Syracuse Orange, and I would say it's pretty accurate. So I'm making just a really simple hat out of that. Knit 3, purl 2, not that exciting. Last weekend was the Super Bowl. Marley Bird, who's one of the people who is a national spokesperson for Red Heart Yarns, which has been bought by Yarnspirations Spinrite Corporation, had a knit along. They called it the Game Day Make Along. She had a knit and crochet pattern you could pick from. We knew it was not going to be a wearable. She's done wearables, I think, the last 3 years. I've done Tournament of Stitches with her before, and then I've done another Game Day Make Along where I made a hat. This year I decided to use the yarn that she had, which is Karen Swirl Cakes. This is a number 5 bulky. It's 77% acrylic and 23% wool. It's a roving style yarn, meaning it's not really spun super tight. It's kind of just, it's almost like a single, you could say. But this yarn does that. It kind of has some stripes in it. And this color was Toasted Plums, I think. Sorry, Smoky Plums. Smoky Plums. And this was Toasted Blueberries. Although it looks really, really gray, it's actually it's got blue in those variegated sections. I used more of that in the project, but the two of them together, the gray, the blueberry is definitely the darker gray. This is the lighter gray. I wish I had had more, if I had known what the overall stitch pattern was going to be, I would have chosen yarns that had a higher contrast. So that's another thing. I've been knitting for over 30 years. Actually, I've been knitting for over 30 years. I think it's 31 now. So what we wound up making was this, which is the style is called a Japanese knot bag, which is basically, you don't have to tie a knot in the handles. You take the big handle and you pull it through the little piece. So you started with this big piece. That was 2 clues. And then this was the 3rd clue. And then you cast on here in a separate piece and knit straight up. Now, if you look really closely at this, and I don't know if you're going to be able to see it because the yarns are not high contrast, there's a definite difference between this part and the first part. I misread the pattern on the 4th clue, which is where the overall patterning of the bag started. And it's basically a slip stitch that comes in here. There, that's what it's supposed to look like. You can kind of see it right there. Here it does not look similar. What I did was, instead of having 4 rows of this solid before I slipped the stitch, I only put 1. Big difference in the overall pattern. You get something that's less like stockinette, and it's kind of stiff at the top, but that could be okay. I just went with it because by the time I realized, I was about halfway down the bag. And then you just keep going, and then you do a 3-needle bind off after some decreases, which I'm not really sure why they did the decreases like that, but I did what they said. And then I sewed it. You just whip stitched the handles on. So that was that. I made that all, I think I finished, they wanted everybody to be finished either game day or Monday to be in the running for a prize. And I knew I wasn't going to be because I was kind of on and off, and I had actually gone to a friend's house to watch the Super Bowl with them and their family, because basically everybody in their house is staying home mostly. So I was relatively safe. We had dinner together and relaxed, and I needed to get out with people. So, because I live by myself, hello. And so I finished this, I think on Tuesday night or Wednesday night, I forget. Look at my Ravelry page. That'll link you to the pattern. You'll find it. And that is what I've been working on. This week, a couple of weeks ago, I pulled out some, I guess the only other things I've gotten done are some dishcloths. And they are really, really not exciting. They are your basic granny square dishcloth. I did try the Premier Yarns Just Cotton from the Dollar Tree, because I've seen a bunch of people that have tried it. It smells weird, I'm not sure. Actually, that's a transfer. It doesn't smell weird. This does. This is Lily Sugar and Cream scents. The scent from this has transferred onto this. That's why it smells weird. This is a pattern where you start at the bottom, you do some increases, then you do some decreases, you get a dishcloth. This is one that has 2 colors in it because I wanted to use up the ball after making this one. So you can do lots of interesting things, and cotton is not that expensive. The Dollar Tree stuff I don't like as much as Lily Sugar and Cream or Bernat Handicrafter, which is this. It doesn't have, it's very loosely spun, It's kind of, it's okay. I mean, if you don't have a yarn store, you know, like an AC Moore doesn't exist anymore, like a Michael's or a Joann's or even a Walmart near you, and you've got the Dollar Tree and that's all you can afford, I got no problem. You can buy whatever kind of yarn you want, because there are no knitting police that are going to come to your house and say, you must use, you know, very expensive yarn. It's a dishcloth. You want to be able to throw it in the washer and the dryer. $1 a ball is not a bad price. So, you know, I'm kind of unimpressed with it, but that's me. The other thing that I pulled out today is a cake of Yarnspiration Chunky Cakes. This color is called Plum Perfect. This is something I bought at Ollie's at one point when they had a sale, I think for $3.99. It's got all those different colors in it. Those are pretty accurate. I think I can get 2 hats out of this. This is 100% acrylic, and it is 297 yards. It's 280 grams, 9.8 ounces. It is a bulky weight. It's a number 5. Sorry, it is a number 6. It is super bulky. I've made a hat out of this before, but I like these colors and they're bright. And right now we have snow and it is not exciting. The only other thing that I brought, and I can't remember whether I showed this or not. It might have been in my Instagram feed. But for those of you who like classic Doctor Who, check out Pluto TV, which is a free streaming service that Viacom CBS uses. There is a station that all they show is classic Doctor Who. Now there are commercials. That's how they pay for the service. You can get it on Amazon. You can download it to your phone and everything. And it runs in real time. There's not stuff on demand for Doctor Who. But what I did was, I love Tom Baker. Love him. Grew up on the Tom Baker series. Our local television station, Channel 24, which is WCNY, used to show those. They would do pledge drives around them. They wore the scarves. It was a big deal. The old format is a serial. So you get the first 5 minutes are the same as the last 5 minutes of the episode before. They're shorter episodes. Sometimes there'll be 4, sometimes there'll be 6. And they would show like 1 episode at a time on the BBC back in the day. But now you can watch them and they run them. They even have the old William Hartnell ones. They have Sylvester McCoy, I want to say, Peter Davison. You know all of them. John Pertwee. Patrick Troughton, I think. I can't pronounce all of them. I can't remember all of them, but I've seen all of them. And then there's another one that's in there that's also a baker, I believe. But anyways, so Tom Baker wore a scarf. Legend is that when they started the series with him, his series, they asked the costumer to make a scarf. Handed her all the yarn, and she used all of it. So they ended up with a 12-foot scarf, literally. So I was like, well, I want to make a 12-foot scarf. And then I thought to myself, what are you going to do with a 12-foot scarf? So my plans have changed slightly. What I think I'm going to do is I haven't picked out exactly which of these colors I'm going to use. I know the purple. This is all 100% wool except for this and this. This is Sock Ease from Lion Brand. That's 75% wool, 25% nylon, which I could double to get whatever color I wanted. And this is Brown Sheep Seconds. That's that's wool and mohair. The rest of this, this is Let Lopi. This is Icelandic wool in worsted weight. The rest of these are all Patents Classic. And then this is just some stuff that I had from This is Cool Wool from Elizabeth Lavold that I bought it Tuesday morning when it was on sale. I think it was like $1 a ball or something goofy like that. So I'm thinking what I might want to do is do a cardigan and use these as like a rainbow accenty color at the top, like a yoked cardigan with the fisherman's wool, cut it, like do steaks, and cut it and make myself a yoked cardigan. Now, this is going to be a long-term project. I do not have to start this right away at all. I just had an idea for it, and obviously I'm not going to get it done before the end of winter because I'm a larger person. This is a February lady sweater, in case anybody asks. It's a free pattern. You can find it on Ravelry. And so that's my plan. A Doctor Who yoked cardigan. I don't know if I'm going to do color work. I may just do straight stuff. I may try and do the garter stitch at the top to mimic what the scarf was, because they used garter stitch. And then the last thing, I've been babbling on for over 20 minutes, is some yarn that I bought that is, I saw a post on Facebook Marketplace locally where a woman said, oops, lost the camera there, man, not good. Anyways, so I saw a post on Facebook that was from a woman locally who said, I'm selling some sock yarn, you know, I don't know whether it's excess sock yarn she had or what, and she said, I'm selling these and I'm going to donate the proceeds to our local food bank. So I said, fabulous, I'm all over this. Sock yarn and the proceeds get donated. And I didn't even realize there was a pattern included with it. Must be a pattern that she bought that she printed out a copy of and put in there. The first one is Vintage Love Story from Maker's Haven yarn, makershaven.com, and the color is called the Vintage Love Story. It's kind of getting washed out, but there we go. You can kind of see it now. It's mostly natural. It's got some splattering, speckling, different sort of things in there of purples and purples, a little bit of blue where it broke, and some pink. So this is very, very subtle. And the pattern that she included was the Cyril Socks by Danny, who's known as Little Bobbins. She has a podcast. So, and I believe this is the yarn that she used to make those socks. So I am definitely going to make these socks with this yarn. And this is a 75-25 mix, soft sock, superwash, and nylon, 463 yards. So I'm very excited about that. And then the other set of yarn that I bought, because I said, I definitely want that. And then I was like, just pick a set for me. Well, I think she saw the pink and thought, hey, these would be good colors. Let's pull back. There we go. So this is very subtle. It's looking more red than it is. It's really pink with red. This is called Dye for You. Dye for You. And it's called Beware the Winnipeg Whiteout. And this is a 80% superwash merino, 20% nylon. The base is snug, which is a fingering weight. There's approximately 420 yards, and the mini is approximately 80 yards. That's for heels and toes. This is always wash in cold water, hand wash for best results, lie flat. So I thought that was really cute. I like this. This is going to stripe. Somebody had made socks with this, so I know it goes like a gray stripe and a pink, but it's got speckling in it. It's got all kinds of different things. I'll kind of pull back. But this is almost like a royal purple. And then the pattern that came with it was the Heel Toe Do-Si Do by Kay Litton. I don't know that I'm going to use this pattern with this particular yarn. It could be kind of cute. And this particular one was made with Deservis Dye Works, which is a more self-striping yarn. This is more of a subtle stripe from what I can see. It's called Crazy Lady Sock Designs. So I got 2 sets, and I was very happy with my purchase. Like I said, I happened to see it on Facebook. I messaged the lady and said, yeah, I really want to buy that. And so we met in a parking lot of a local library and exchanged money and yarn. It was at daytime, so I wasn't worried about anything. So that was a purchase. The other thing that I'm working on, I don't know that I have it in here, is out of this, which is Red Heart Roll With It Melange. Big difference. Melange. Not menage. Melange. Not like the singer. And this color is Autograph, I think. If I remember rightly. Wowzers. Yep, this color is Autograph. It's got a whole bunch of purples in it. I have 3 cakes of this that I bought from Hobby Lobby like a long time ago. And I'm going to try and make... my plan is to make some sort of a shrug, but to use crochet, knitting, and possibly Tunisian crochet. Tunisian crochet can look like knitting, it can look like crochet, but it's neither. So right now all I've got is a back. I'm working up in a crochet back because I figure the back has to be the most sturdy piece, and the sleeve part-ish can be maybe not as sturdy, and then I want to have a collar on it. I'd like to have the ability to flip the whole piece and have it be a different length maybe, but I'm not sure what I'm doing. I'm kind of free-forming it. There won't be a pattern for it, but I just like the idea of, I haven't really done Tunisian crochet all that much, and I want to really get that going. So I'm working on that. The other project that I am working on that will be back on the needles, after a hiatus, I had pink eye for a while, and I really needed to take care of that. That was a good week that I didn't work on other stuff. So I have a baby blanket out of Pipsqueak, which is a Bernat yarn. That's, I think it's nylon. I have it in Whitey White and Sittin' Pretty, which are pinkish, purplish, turquoisey colors. And I wanted to get those done so that my cousin's daughter is obsessed with her baby blanket that I made out of Sittin' Pretty. And so I'm making a straight garter stitch blanket. Just white, Sittin' Pretty, white, Sittin' Pretty, and then white. Because I didn't have enough Sittin' Pretty to make a big blanket, but I wanted to make her a larger blanket for as she grows older. She's going to grow taller. I wanted her to have a big blanket for her bed, and then if she wants to drag around the other blanket, she can. So that's all I've got this week, guys. I hope you are crafting. I know a lot of people's mental health has not been good with this pandemic continuing to go on. My dad personally has received both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. He's in a nursing home. He's been there for over 5 years, and he's received both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. Had very little side effects other than being sleepy. So hopefully I get that soon. I have some comorbidities which may qualify me in a few weeks to attempt to sign up for it. Obviously, one of them is being a larger person. So that is all I have for you. Please like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, find me on Instagram, subscribe to that. Instagram is the place where I post the most, and then that cross posts to the Facebook page. So either one of those places you can see when I post, you know, a photograph and some information about whatever I'm working on. That's how I post that way. Instagram is the easiest. The thread on Ravelry, the group on Ravelry isn't really getting that much traction. I don't do giveaways the way I used to. I can't justify sending anybody yarn or anything during this because I just wouldn't feel right about it. Plus the fact I did send yarn to a family friend who I knew that all of my yarn had been boxed. I had a negative COVID test. I know everything was okay. I filled up a box and sent yarn because I have so much yarn. It's not even funny. I don't have as much as other people. Mine is loosely organized. I live by myself, so there's nobody to say, oh, your yarn's all over the place. I did have a friend who came over, well, a couple of friends who've come over and said, your yarn's all over the place. You know, it's not like neat and organized. Well, yeah, I don't keep a little basket by my couch with my yarn in it. I probably should, and I should work on one project or two at a time like a normal person. I work on 6. And I also have a couple of pair of socks on the needles. We know that when I start something, I'm like the dog in Up. If you've ever seen that Disney movie or the Pixar movie, Up, the dog collar translates what the dog is thinking. And most of the time it was, squirrel! I am like that with yarn, projects, podcasts, anything. Anything that's interesting. Lately, I have been watching Ross from Smells Like Yarn. I just watched the new Stranded Dye Works podcast today. I watched Cinnamon Stitches, and I watched Bag O' Day Crochet. Because I like to see new yarns. I don't necessarily want to buy them all. I like to see, you know, somebody who's doing stuff, has tutorials and stuff like that. If you crochet, Bag O' Day Crochet has a billion tutorials. Not really a billion, but a lot. And Cinnamon Stitches has some too. She's also learned how to knit, so she's doing some knit projects as well. They're both really real people. I watch the Knit Girls occasionally now because I can't watch all of the podcasts all of the time because that's too much knitting overload for me. Trying to think if I watched any new shows. I watched the new Equalizer with Queen Latifah. I thought it was pretty good. I didn't see the ending of it. I fell asleep. I had to go to bed before the ending, but somebody told me how it ended, the first episode. So I think the new episode is on tonight, maybe? No, Sunday night, maybe. So it sounds like a good plan. I've recorded, it was daytime, so there's some natural light coming in. There's a light behind me, like a ring light. So you've seen everything. I've talked nonstop because I was actually in a good mood today and I was in a good place to record. So I tend to do that. That's why it's so long. I tend to record when I'm feeling well. I suffer from depression. We've talked about this before. I've been on medication for years and years. I tried a couple different ones. The medication I'm on now works pretty well. There are days when I am not my best. I did over the last few months, though, give up caffeine and soda. I will have a soda occasionally, like a Sprite. But And if I get a migraine, I will take an Excedrin, which does have caffeine in it. But other than that, I've been trying to avoid sugar overload. That's not to say that I don't have desserts occasionally, but I've been trying to eat, I guess relatively healthy. Not great, but relatively better than I was. So that's all I can ask for. I'm not doing to lose weight or anything. I just decided that was what I wanted to do. So I did it. And other than that, there's not much going on. The only other thing that I did last weekend, which I may go out and do. I don't know if I'm going to go out today. It's a little late. But I may go tomorrow. Is if you are in the Syracuse area, I strongly recommend go to the mall, but don't go inside. There is a creek walk, Creek walk, that is by Destiny USA Mall in Syracuse, and it leads down to Onondaga Lake, which used to be one of the most polluted lakes. It was actually a Superfund site. Honeywell has helped clean up because they acquired the company that originally polluted the lake. You can look at the history and see it. But there is a wastewater treatment plant, which is right by the mall. The creek walk, you kind of have to walk past the discharge, so it'll smell a little bit, but you'll be okay. You're going to keep walking, come out to the lake where it doesn't smell. And there are eagles, bald eagles, right by the mall. Bald eagles. I saw a bunch of juveniles. I did see a full-grown adult who had the white tail and the white head, the white crown of the head. The juveniles are brown for the first few years. And the way the discharge comes, there's a Onondaga Creek goes by the wastewater plant, which is here. The mall's here. The creek walk is on the mall side. So the discharge from the wastewater plant comes up the creek, and then it goes out into the lake. So where that discharge is warmer. So there's an area of open water that's right by near the discharge of the creek, and the ice is formed around that. So what was happening was the eagles would land on the ice and hang out, and then they would look for prey, fish in this case, and they would dive down and get the fish. They'd go into flight and look for stuff too. So that was really cool because you can actually see them. So there were a lot of people that were in the parking lot of the mall because you can kind of see them. There's a railroad that also runs, the railroad line runs along the edge of the lake. So if you take the creek walk in, you'll get to the lake. You go under the railroad bridge. So because the Amtrak station is more, you can't see what I'm doing, but creek, railroad, wastewater, Amtrak station that way, baseball park that way. The transportation hub, the Greyhound station is there too. All of that stuff is right on the lake. But if you go around the other side, you take Interstate 690, and you get off at a certain exit. It will take you to what they call the Honeywell parking lot. And you can park there. You can also see them there. It's more of a clear shot to see them, I think. And you can stay in your car and stay warm rather than walking along the creek walk. Last week it was 22 degrees. This week it is 17. So I don't know if it's going to be warm tomorrow. We'll have to see. This morning it was 1, so I wasn't going this morning. I have to pick up something at Lane Bryant at the mall, so I am going to go to the mall, look at the eagles. I take binoculars with me, but there were a lot of people that had fancy cameras, lenses, that are 2 feet long, literally the long lenses to get the close-ups of the birds. And these are not, I don't know whether they're professional photographers, just hobbyists that happen to have extra money to get a long lens. They probably sell some of the pictures, I would imagine. I met a couple people. They seemed very nice. You know, somebody said to me, oh, I came in from this area and here. And if you look for people that have long lenses, you'll find them. If you're out of town, it's really easy to get to them all. It's off of the highway. It's well worth it. We have, I think, the second largest urban population of bald eagles. I want to say in the Northeast. It might be the United States. I'm not sure which. All of these eagles were introduced way back when a couple of guys retired from the DEC, the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation. They worked with Alaska and New York State to bring in fledglings, little eagles from Alaska. And the breeding pairs over the years, I want to say it's over maybe 15, 16 years, have gone up considerably. The other large place to see them and see the nests is at Montezuma Wildlife Refuge, which is along the New York State Thruway, Interstate 90, between Syracuse and Waterloo, New York. You'll find Montezuma. It's a federal wildlife refuge. You can get to it really easily. Right now in the winter, you just drive along. I think the trails are open. And you just drive along, and there's several big, huge ponds. There's a lot of geese there when there's migration going on. There's also a big giant eagle statue that you'll see from the side of the highway. So I highly recommend that. It's a free activity. I think it's fun for kids if you take a pair of binoculars. And you can even see them, you know, just flying in the air over you, and you'll know what they look like because somebody next to you with a long lens camera will tell you, oh, that's an eagle. So I felt really good about that. It's really nice to see that in Syracuse, especially at a site that is a former Superfund site and a wastewater plant who's, you know, taking care of the water, cleaning up the discharge from the city of Syracuse. It's a county wastewater plant, but I work at an environmental lab. I've worked as a secretary for 24 and a half years at an environmental laboratory. And so I feel really good about that something that was polluted could not, you know, was disgusting, frankly. Smelled, was gross. We thought never would come back. A whole bunch of agencies, there were lawsuits, there was years of debate. How do we do this? What's going on? The area has come back. And I think it's wonderful. That's a resource that we never had before. So it's fabulous to see it. It's really cool to see the eagles. To know that at one point there weren't eagles in New York State because of DDT poisoning from years and years ago, and other factors. So I would highly recommend, if you and your kids are in the Syracuse or surrounding areas, go see the eagles. They're awesome. So that's the end of my podcast. I've rambled on for more time than I wanted to. Like I said, subscribe to the podcast. Then you'll know when I post an episode. I will try and post more often this year. I think it's going to be easier for me because there's light at the end of the tunnel of the pandemic. Not just, oh my gosh, I've got to go to work every day. Not every day, but I work 5 days a week. I'm very lucky that I do support the infrastructure by providing essential services such as water and wastewater testing. I do the part of the secretarial work for my company. So I'm very lucky that way. So I get to go to work every day is how I look at it. I'm not unemployed like some of my friends are, unfortunately. And I didn't have to ever work from home I got to still go to work and be with people. I've been very, very lucky. We're already a company that, cleans up after ourselves. You do that with lab work. You wash your hands, you wear gloves, you wear lab coats. You're careful about what you do. You wear safety glasses, things like that. So we were already really good with that. We've added, obviously added masks as part of our stuff. If we're away from our little cubicle or area, then we're wearing masks. We run an air filter by my desk for, just taking out the dust out of the air. That seems to help. We sanitize stuff. You clean up after yourself. You do what you can do. I tend not to go a whole bunch of places. I haven't eaten in restaurants all that much. I don't go over to my friend's house often. I think I've gone maybe 4 or 5 times in the past year.